Hey Creagears, Robert here and welcome back to the final few episodes of the Salmon Run series 2020. Speaking of, it seems we're going to end this year with this project. As the people of the WVD Discord server have been seeing over these past weeks, it's been an amazing big project, so we're going to have to split this up in two parts. The first part is going to show the making process, and the second part will be showing off the painting and assembly and the showcase of this full project. Oh yeah, to end 2020 and the Salmon Run series up with a banger, we're making a complete map recreation of the spawning grounds. So, enough of this introduction, time to get started. We're first going to start off with the floor map for this complete area. This we traced from a callouts map of competitive Salmon Run. Here we color coded the different levels with the corresponding heights and if there's stairs. This piece we're going to be cutting out along the outside, because the inside cuts we're going to do it a bit differently. But also don't accidentally throw away the description for all the heights, because we nearly did that. Next we're tracing the outside of the map onto some foam boards. By tracing it onto the foam board and cutting it out, we're getting a sturdy base to build the rest of the diorama onto. Then we're pinning the map onto the base and cutting out the different towers that are going to go on the catwalk side of the spawning grounds. By cutting through the paper and only lightly scratching the foam board, we're getting perfect indications of where we're going to need to place the towers later on in the build. Although this is not necessary for the larger body mass around the spawn point, since that will be made as one big piece, so alignment will not be such a problem. Finally we start to make the different levels, starting by making the beach. For this piece I got a 2 cm plate of polystyrene and traced the beach part. This I cut out with my X-Acto knife. Next I angle my blade to make a huge pile of sand that slopes towards the water. Thin near the water and higher at the edges where the sand would have accumulated. Then to finish, a light sanding, although this part is completely unnecessary because we're going to be covering it with sand later on, but just do what you want to. Then with some hot glue to the base, we attach the plate to make the first part of the diorama. Continuing on, we're starting to make all of the elevated parts of the diorama. For this process we first get out and trace the parts of the map onto some foam boards. Then we reference and measure the sides that we're going to need for this specific part. Next we measure the height that this part needs from the description sheet and then we cut the sides out. To prepare the parts for gluing, we cut the meeting sides at a 45-degree angle, and then finally we can assemble the parts to make one of the platforms. This process is then repeated for all the other parts of the diorama. The making of the spaceship shape is not that hard, but it's mainly having a really good foresight in which parts are going to meet and the heights and relationships that the elevations are going to have with each other. We do have some processes during this that differ a bit from this standard. For example, this front wall here. This piece spans multiple elevations and thus has a slope in it. This is one of those foresight parts that are required to be thought about while making this. Which walls can span along multiple elevations, because the less different pieces alongside one wall, the better it's going to look and the stronger it's going to be in the end. That's also where the purple pieces in the map come in. These are all the places where a slope is going to be placed. But the difficult part of these is that they're only looking onto the slopes from above, so the exact length is going to be measured onto the piece itself, with all the angled edges that are going to make it snugly fit onto the top and the bottom piece. And then my phone cut out, so I didn't record a whole lot of the building. But luckily we got to record the hardest part of the making process of this project. No, not the slopes at the start, Muna. This part of the map has some high elevations, it has a lot of slopes that also transition back to the rest that is already installed, and on top of that, it's all very close together. So for this part we actually already cut out the appropriate heights of the sides and the transitions. One of these at 6 and one of these at 8 centimeters, which we also made to the length of all the pieces that we're going to need. So this made this part a whole lot easier just by already having these pieces prepared. Then it was just a case of cutting it out at the needed length, cutting the 45-degree angle and gluing it all together. Once that was done, we could finish the left side of the construction by adding the last slopes. All that was left were these 3 separate towers on the catwalks. Luckily these were much simpler than all the connecting parts of the main construction. Although these had the catch that they had to line up with 6 centimeters to connect to the main construction with the catwalks. This went wrong on one of these, but it was luckily a smaller one of the 2, so it will be less noticeable. Hey, I'm not going to deconstruct the whole part of the main construction, all because of that small part. And as long as it doesn't bother you and you're happy with the outcome, all that ends well. Here you can also see that nice preparation we did by scoring the placement of the towers onto the base. So we know exactly where we're going to need to place all of the parts. And as always, we continue the same principle by cutting out the parts of the map, chopping the height and the lengths of the sides, cutting the 45-degree angle, and finishing with the assembly of the part and attaching it to the base. At last, after 3 days of building and cutting foam board, we can finally start to add all of the details onto the diorama. Here we use PVA glue to be able to glue on the sand that will give the beach its texture. Later on we will also add this around the spawn point, but for this we're first going to need to make the stone. But we're at the beach first, so we need to apply a layer of glue all over the foam and a bit to the sides where the sand might also stick in real life. Then we sprinkle a layer of sand over the glue to make the beach official. Why not do it now? So, here's the diorama in its most basic shape. With the spawn point and the basket base. The high posts. And finishing the tour with the ducks. Great idea! For this we've actually gotten a new material for the show. This is stitch grading or granny grading, a plastic mesh that is officially used for embroidery, but it's also often used in miniatures and dioramas to make a grading or a mesh. So for ours, we're tracing the parts of the map that are colored grey, and we cut this out of the granny grading. Then, to finish the catwalks, we cut out some halved coffee stirring sticks and apply these to the edges of the walk to give the illusion that they are separate pieces welded together. Just measure the sticks alongside the grading and cut them to size and attach them with some super glue. Here you can also see how we made these halved sticks. We first made 2 endpoints in the middles of either end of the sticks, then lay our metal ruler onto these, and first score and then cut the pieces in half. After this we attach 2 popsicle stick squares to the bottom of 2 areas and connect these to the sides with more halved coffee stirring sticks to make the bottom braces of the catwalks. By reading of the angle on the pieces and the edge, drawing these on, and cutting it to size before supergluing them onto the grating. This whole process is also done for the smaller grating, both the supports and the edges. Then we hot glue full-size stirring sticks in a random pattern of 5 to the sandbar. With also some to the slope to this area. To wrap up the sandbar, we make 4 barrels. For these we cut out 2 cm dowels and chamfer the edges. Next we glue a small piece of stirring stick on for the handle. And to finish the barrel we glue on 2 2mm strips of hobby paper as relief on the barrel. Then we cut a hole for our freshly made barrel onto the sandbar and glue it in with some hot glue. After that we can glue on the sand around the spawn point with its nice rock from some cut foamboard. And with a bit more sand to the slopes that come from the sandbar. As the first part of the expansion of the map, aka the water surrounding the spawning grounds, we're making the Grisco top. By using this boat shape and a 2 cm edge to start. We also made this umbrella pattern to use on the boat. We will leave a link in the description where you can download this pattern and the map, for those of you who also want to build their very own spawning grounds diorama or just a small version of the Grisco top. So, now that promotion is over, we can start to attach the sides of the top. Next we make a paper pattern for the front of the boat. and cut 2 of these out to some more foam boards. And by ripping off one of the paper sides, we can easily bend the foam board to curve to the front. Then we can attach the two to finish off the hull of the boat. Continuing by making the cabinet out of a 4 cm square. With a 3 cm square on top. Making sure it's in the middle. And that it has a control panel. And some paper windows. So we can attach the guardrail onto the back. Then we've attached the side guardrails with its bead buoys and EVA foam lifesavers. Not forgetting about the cut-off Christmas ornament, the radio disc, with its toothpick supports. And with a little showcase of the finished umbrella and the top. We're starting to finish off this part 1 with the final details on the diorama. We're starting with some wood panels around the basket. And on the top. Not forgetting about these vertical planks on this tower and at the docks. And some texture and scrap around the ground of the catwalks. And finishing off with the painstaking process of gluing on cut granny grading as guide rails around some of the tops and all of the wires around the diorama. Holy sapfish. With electrical boxes and small paper wire clamps to finish off these and all of the decorations that we're going to attach for now. And with that, we're going to be ending this part of the Spawning Grounds diorama. Hey Creagears, Robert here. We hope you enjoyed this part of the Spawning Grounds diorama, and we hope you will check back with us at the end of the month when we will finish this amazing fun Salmon Run series with the painting and final assembly of this full map diorama. Keep those creative gears turning, and we will see you in the next episode.